Beaches aren't always safe. Some are notorious for shark attacks, powerful currents, deadly jellyfish, and extreme pollution. Each year, these hidden dangers claim lives, turning dream destinations into disaster zones. Here are 20 of the most dangerous beaches on Earth, places where beauty masks deadly risks. 1. India's Panani Beach. After weeks of intense rain, an amazing event occurred in the northern Kerala area of India in the year 2018. Suddenly, a brand new beach that extended about a kilometer into the ocean was revealed. The locals wasted little time in investigating this surprising creation, which appeared to be a miracle. They were unaware, however, that Panani Beach was far from safe, unstable, and only an illusion brought on by shifting sands. Excited by the prospect of venturing so far out into the water, eager tourists disregarded the cautions and ventured deep into the sandbank. They overlooked the possibility that the same forces that formed the beach could quickly destroy it. The sand underfoot started to give way as the tide changed, trapping some and dragging others into the ocean. When people began to disappear, pulled away by the strong waters, the sandbank's perilous character became clear. Tourists persisted in trying their luck in spite of several warnings because they thought they could outsmart nature. However, Panani Beach showed no mercy, and those who misjudged its unpredictable nature ultimately paid a heavy price. Panani Beach continues to change suddenly, just as it did overnight. And nature doesn't wait for second chances, if history is any indication. Let's go from a sandbank that is unstable to an area where the water is your worst adversary. 2. Hawaii's Hanakapiai Beach. Hanakapiai Beach, tucked away on Hawaii's stunning Napali coast, is a picture-perfect location. It seems like something from a dream with its golden sands, verdant cliffs, and glistening waves. In actuality, though, this gem is among the world's most hazardous beaches. Hanakapiai lacks lifeguards and warning signs, which are features that keep people safe at other beaches. And that's exactly why it's so lethal. The water beneath the surface is anything but serene, despite the waves' initial pleasant appearance. Unexpectedly, strong rip currents can arise and drag swimmers out to sea in a matter of seconds. The worst thing? There is no simple way out. There are no sandbars or reefs to impede the current in this area's water. The water's force pulls you farther and farther away from the coast after you're caught. Many of the over 80 persons who have drowned here over the years were good swimmers who thought they could defy the current. The region is even more misleading because of the neighboring hiking trails, which lure daring tourists into a false sense of security. However, their fate is decided the instant they enter the water. Hanakapiai Beach is still one of the riskiest locations to swim since it lacks lifeguards, cell service, and simple rescue routes. Our next beach is home to monsters that lie beneath the surface, waiting for their next unwary victim, as if rip currents weren't enough. 3. South Africa's Gansbaai Beach. South Africa's Gansbaai Beach is notorious for its lethal seas and is said to be the world's great white shark capital. It's likely that this location was used to film any documentaries you may have seen about sharks breaking the surface and diving out of the water to hunt prey. This area of the ocean is a popular destination for both thrill seekers and researchers, since it is home to one of the world's greatest concentrations of great white sharks. To see these apex predators up close, tourists travel to Gansbaai for cage diving. Although cages provide a certain amount of security, the risk is never completely removed. These sharks are inquisitive, hostile, and strong enough to breach steel barricades. Some can grow to a length of more than 6 meters. But what about people who go into the sea without a cage? The result is nearly invariably lethal. The frequency of shark attacks in this area is higher than most people think. Sharks are drawn to Gansbaai all year round because of the seal's plentiful food source. A great white's sample bite is more than enough to be fatal, even though attacks on humans are frequently ascribed to curiosity rather than predation. Before assistance arrives, the sheer force of their jaws could easily sever limbs or cause serious injury. Despite the dangers, swimmers and divers keep trying because they think they can live with these predators. However, the sharks own the ocean in Gansbaai. Wait until you learn about the next beach, where the chance of a shark attack is much greater, if that isn't enough to keep you out of the ocean. 4. Florida's New Smyrna Beach. If the world's great white shark capital is Gansbaai, then the shark bite capital is New Smyrna Beach, Florida. It is supported by statistics and is more than simply a nickname. There are more shark attacks per square mile along this section of coastline than anywhere else on the planet. Almost 1/3 of all shark attacks worldwide occur here in some years. Bull sharks can be found near New Smyrna Beach, in contrast to Gansby, where great white sharks rule the waters. These vicious predators are even more erratic because they can survive in both fresh and salt water. Divers, swimmers, and surfers frequently don't realize they're in danger until it's too late. The frequency of attacks on this beach is considerably more worrisome. 3 different shark bites were reported in a single day in 21. Surfers who inadvertently paddled into a hunting area were the victims. Even while the majority of attacks don't result in death, they can cause serious injuries and have a lifelong psychological effect. According to experts, the region's murky waters, where sharks mistake people for fish, are the cause of the high incidence of bites. Despite this, tourists still flock to New Smyrna Beach because they think there is little chance of an assault. However, those odds don't work in your favor when you're in the world's sharkiest seas. Even though sharks are quite frightening, there are other creatures that lurk beneath the waves. Next, we visit a beach where more people have died from the ocean than from any animal. 5. Brazil's Boa Viagem Beach. Brazil's Boa Viagem Beach initially appears to be the ideal tropical retreat. This beach in Recife is well known for its mild seas and golden sands. However, a lot of visitors are unaware that it's also among the world's deadliest shark-infested beaches. Despite the water's seeming friendliness, this area is among the riskiest for swimming due to the high concentration of aggressive bull and tiger sharks. The sheer volume of shark attacks on this beach is just as dangerous as the sharks themselves. More than 50 shark attacks have been documented in the past 20 years, and the death rate from Boa Viagem is what makes it so terrible. Nearly 40% of shark bites here result in death, in contrast to most other shark-infested waters where attacks are frequently non-fatal. According to experts, the degradation of the shark's natural habitat is the reason for this high concentration of attacks. Sharks were forced closer to the coast in pursuit of food when the swap port was built, upsetting the natural balance. People still swim here in spite of warnings, not realizing that they are entering one of the world's deadliest shark zones. Although sharks pose a scary threat, certain beaches conceal their actual danger beneath the surface of placid seas. 6. Mexico's Playa Zipolite. Playa Zipolite in Mexico appears to be an unspoiled paradise from the outside. It seems like the ideal place to unwind because of the gorgeous coastline and the pleasant Pacific breeze. However, its name conveys a different meaning. Zipolite, which translates to Beach of the Dead, from the native Zapotec language, has undoubtedly lived up to its name. Rip currents, which are far more unpredictable than sharks or jellyfish, are the real threat here. Before they ever realize it, swimmers are drawn away from the coast by these lethal currents that form just below the surface. Many victims drown within minutes of being discovered, and it is almost hard to swim back once trapped. Playa Zipolite is still a well-liked vacation spot despite the dangers, particularly for surfers and thrill seekers. Although the local government has implemented lifeguards in an attempt to increase safety, the death toll is still high. Tragic outcomes occur each year when dozens of swimmers misread the water's strength. The primary rule of survival for visitors is to avoid the water. However, not all threats are that simple to avoid. Some beaches are home to species that have dominated the ocean for millions of years, while others are lethal due to what lies beneath the waters. 7. California's Red Triangle. The Red Triangle is a terrifying moniker given to the area off the coast of Northern California because of its notorious shark attack history. From Bodega Bay to Big Sur, this section of the water is among the world's most hazardous locations for surfers and swimmers. This is not a spot to try your luck because it accounts for over half of all shark attacks in the U.S. Because so many great white sharks frequent the region, the area is known as the Red Triangle. The abundance of marine life in the area attracts these enormous predators. This area is ideal for hunting because seals, sea lions, and other prey species flourish there. Regretfully, divers and surfers frequently find themselves in the wrong location at the wrong moment. The great whites here are notoriously fierce hunters, in contrast to other beaches where sharks mistake people for fish. Victims of some attacks have been dragged beneath before they could even react because they were so severe. Because they think they can outmaneuver these apex predators, surfers continue to battle the waters in spite of the risks. However, you lose control when a 6-meter shark is hunting close by, regardless of your level of skill. The next beach will disprove the notion that a great white shark is the worst creature one could ever see in the water. Here, even in the absence of a predator, the water itself has the power to kill. 8. Portugal's Praia do Norte. Praia do Norte is a site that surfers both dream about and fear, and it's located along Portugal's Atlantic coast. This beach, which is well known for its enormous waves, is the site of the record for the largest wave ever ridden, which is an incredible 70 feet high. These enormous waves crashing onto the beach is a sight to behold, but it also serves as a sobering reminder of nature's unbridled might. The underwater topography of Praia do Norte is what makes it so lethal. Incoming swells are amplified by a deep-sea canyon off the shore, producing waves of unfathomable size and force. Anyone caught too near the shore is at risk from these waves, in addition to surfers trying to ride them. These strong waters have swamped even small boats, killing several people. Praia do Norte draws big-wave surfers from all over the world who are keen to conquer what is frequently referred to as the Everest of surfing, despite the risks. One mistake on these waves, however, can be lethal, as many have discovered the hard way. Imagine being stranded in an area where help is practically impossible if you thought fighting enormous waves was scary. Not only is our next beach hazardous, but it also serves as a cemetery for those who never survived. 9. Namibia's Skeleton Coast. No other beach on this list compares to Namibia's Skeleton Coast. Surfers searching for the ideal wave, vacationers playing in the sand, and packed resorts are all absent. Rather, the wreckage of ships that met their demise here is scattered along this barren stretch of coastline. Numerous lives have been lost there, as evidenced by the eerie sight of rusting hulls, broken masts, and strewn bones. There are several reasons why the Skeleton Coast is dangerous. Navigation is practically impossible due to the dangerous waters, erratic currents, thick fog, and strong storms. When a ship hits aground, it becomes extremely difficult to survive. The shoreline is a huge, desolate desert where people who are stuck have little hope due to the intense heat and scarcity of fresh water. Dehydration, famine, or the hostile desert environment finally claimed the lives of many sailors who survived their shipwrecks. One of the harshest regions on the planet is still this geographical area. The Skeleton Coast serves as a reminder of the beauty and cruelty of nature. Furthermore, certain threats are more surprising than others, even though some are clear. We then go to a beach where something much more terrifying poses a greater hazard than sharks, surf, or the weather. 10. India's Dumas Beach. No other beach on this list is like India's Dumas Beach. Strong waves, sharks, or lethal rip currents are not the threat here. Rather, it originates from an invisible force that residents think is still there in the atmosphere. This beach is notorious for its ghostly activities more than its inherent dangers. Dumas Beach, which was once a cremation site, is thought to be haunted by restless ghosts. Numerous tourists have claimed to have heard footsteps following them when no one else is around, to have heard whispers in the wind, and even to have seen shadowy figures emerge in the dark. People who go too far at night, so the saying goes, never come back. Tourists are still drawn to the location by its mystery. Even in spite of these unsettling stories, the eerie atmosphere and the icy silence after sunset make it one of India's most feared beaches, even though there is no scientific proof of the hauntings. Regardless of your belief in ghosts, one thing is for sure: you do not want to spend your nights alone here. The next beach on our list is dangerous for a completely different reason, though, if you find supernatural fears unnerving. 11. India's North Sentinel Island. While nature poses a threat to most beaches, humans pose the greatest threat on North Sentinel Island. One of the last uncontacted tribes in the world, the Sentinelese, live in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands of India. For thousands of years, they have lived in total seclusion, and they plan to continue doing so. The Sentinelese have continued to be antagonistic toward outsiders, in contrast to other indigenous people that have gradually assimilated into contemporary civilization. A volley of arrows awaits anyone who ventures onto the island. Over the years, a number of people, including fishermen and even a missionary in 2018, have been slain for attempting to establish contact. The island has been deemed off-limits by the Indian government, which advises residents to avoid it for their own safety. But even if you could step onto the shore, survival would be practically impossible. With no modern resources, no medical care, and a tribe that would defend their territory at all costs, North Sentinel Island remains one of the most hazardous places on Earth. However, other areas are even deadlier, not because of their people, but because of what humans have done to them. 12. Bikini Atoll, Marshall Islands. At first glance, Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands appears like a tropical paradise. Crystal clear waters, white sandy beaches, and palm trees swinging in the wind make it appear like the perfect vacation place. But what lurks beneath the surface is far from perfection. This island is one of the most radioactive places on Earth. Between 1946 and 1958, The United States conducted nuclear tests on Bikini Atoll, detonating 23 atomic bombs in the area. The aftermath left the land and rivers heavily polluted. Even though the government proclaimed it safe for human habitation in the 70s, returning residents quickly discovered excessive radiation levels in their food and water. Bikini Atoll is still largely deserted today. Visitors are advised not to linger for too long, even if some come for deep-sea diving. Long-term exposure to the radiation poses serious health hazards, even though it may not be instantly fatal. Although the beach appears to be welcoming, it is yet inhospitable due to the scars left by a terrible history. Our next stop is equally spooky, but for a completely different cause. From nuclear fallout to a shoreline that seems like it belongs in a ghost story. 13. South Africa's Kosi Bay. Kosi Bay is a beautiful coastal paradise famed for its clean waters, varied marine life, and unspoiled beauty. It is situated in the northeastern part of South Africa, close to the Mozambican border. But underlying its serene exterior is a lethal confluence of natural dangers that rank it among the world's most hazardous beaches. Bull sharks, sometimes referred to as Zambezi sharks, are the main concern here because of their aggressive tendencies and capacity to survive in both fresh and salt water. Bull sharks are known to swim near shore, which increases the possibility of interactions with unwary swimmers, in contrast to great white sharks, which often attack in deep seas. Strong currents and changing sandbanks, in addition to bull sharks, make swimming at Kosi Bay dangerous and unpredictable. Many visitors underestimate the strength of the currents and end up straining against the water's unrelenting pull. Because of the area's remote position, there aren't many emergency rescue services available, which raises the hazards for anyone who gets into difficulties. Kosi Bay is still a well-liked spot for fishing and snorkeling in spite of the risks, especially in its well-known network of lakes and estuaries. Nonetheless, it is highly recommended that tourists remain aware of local safety regulations and refrain from going too far out into open waters. Because of the erratic currents and hostile marine life, being cautious is not only advised but also necessary for survival at Kosi Bay. 14. Australia's Cairns. Australia's Queensland is home to the well-known Cairns, which serves as a gateway to the Great Barrier Reef. Thousands of visitors visit this location each year to snorkel and see the marine life in its breathtakingly blue waters. However, few people are aware that the box jellyfish, one of the most deadly animals on the planet, lives in these same seas. Box jellyfish are almost invisible, in contrast to sharks, which are easily identified. They are very hard to avoid because of their translucent bodies, which blend in perfectly with the water. However, one encounter can be lethal. Venomous cells that line their tentacles can result in severe agony, paralysis, heart failure, and frequently even death. To keep swimmers safe, authorities post warning signs and construct nets at several beaches during the summer, when jellyfish populations are at their peak. However, mishaps still happen despite measures. Some victims never emerge from the sea, and their remains are discovered washed up on the shoreline unharmed. Despite its beauty, Cairns seas should not be taken lightly. Every year, jellyfish silently take more life than sharks, despite sharks making headlines. And if you believe that sticking on land keeps you safe, our next beach shows you that danger can appear in unexpected places. 15. Australia's Tamarama Beach. Sydney, Australia's Tamarama Beach, often known as Backpackers Express, may appear to be a serene section of shoreline, yet it conceals one of the world's most deadly rip currents. Unaware that they could be washed out to sea at any minute, visitors and swimmers enter its waters each year. The power and unpredictable nature of Tamarama's rip currents are what make it so dangerous. These invisible waterways have the power to drag swimmers hundreds of meters off the coast in a matter of seconds. Even on days that appear to be calm, rip currents run quickly in the opposite direction from waves, which push water toward the beach, making escape nearly impossible. Tamarama Beach's rescue crews handle hundreds of situations annually, making them some of Australia's busiest. Many people misjudge the ocean's power. Even though there are warning signs and lifeguards on duty all the time, it's frequently too late by the time they recognize that they're in danger. The next lethal element for those who do survive the tear is weariness. Even though Tamarama Beach is modest in comparison to other hazardous coastlines, it demonstrates that when the ocean takes over, size is irrelevant. But in other locations, the threat isn't limited to the ocean. It can even be found wandering the shoreline. 16. Australia's Fraser Island K'gari Another name for Fraser Island is a stunning paradise on Australia's east coast. However, underneath its allure are a number of unspoken dangers that rank among the world's most hazardous beaches. This island is well known for its hostile animals in addition to its lethal rip currents. The feral dingo population on Fraser Island is one of the main threats. These wild dogs, in contrast to domestic dogs, are erratic and have attacked people, particularly when they feel threatened. Numerous tourists have suffered bite wounds, and in some sad instances, children have been mauled to death. The ocean is no safer than the land if the former is unsafe. Deadly animals like box jellyfish and bull sharks can be found in the waters around Fraser Island. Even seasoned swimmers find swimming dangerous because of the strong currents, and rescue is challenging due to the remote location. Authorities have put in place stringent rules for tourists, telling them to keep out of the water and not feed dingoes. However, Fraser Island still draws adventurers in spite of these cautions. Even stepping onto the sand at some beaches, though, can be a potentially fatal choice. 17. St. Martin's Maho Beach. One of the world's most distinctive beaches is Maho Beach in St. Martin. It's dangerous because of airplanes, not because of sharks, jellyfish, or rip currents. This little Caribbean beach lies right beneath Princess Juliana International Airport's flight path, where aircraft land at extremely low altitudes, sometimes only a few meters above the heads of beachgoers. Standing beneath a landing plane is an exhilarating experience for thrill seekers. Tourists flock there every day to snap pictures and experience the powerful surge of sound and wind as a huge jet roars overhead. However, many people are unaware of how lethal this experience can be. The jet blast from departing jets poses the most threat. The power of airplane engines can knock individuals off their feet during takeoff, sending them crashing into rocks, fences, or even the ocean. People have occasionally been gravely injured, and in a terrible occurrence in 2017, a woman died after being blasted back by the force of a jet engine. Authorities consistently advise tourists to maintain a safe distance from Maho Beach, despite the fact that it is still a popular destination. However, for some, the excitement surpasses the danger. However, the risk of our last beach, where the threats in the sea are the most deadly mix of all, is far more than any amount of thrill-seeking. 18. Australia's Cable Beach. Western Australia's Cable Beach is the ideal illustration of how paradise can swiftly devolve into horror. It appears to be the ideal location for swimming and relaxation because of its turquoise waters and fine white sands. However, if you venture into this water, you can encounter some of the most lethal animals on the planet. This beach is one of Australia's most dangerous coastlines since it is home to saltwater crocodiles, sharks, and lethal jellyfish. There are several predators waiting in the water at Cable Beach, in contrast to most locations where a single dangerous animal predominates. Because of their extreme aggression, saltwater crocodiles can ambush swimmers in shallow waters. Bull sharks patrol the coast, while box jellyfish, which frequently cause death from their stings, proliferate in the warmer months. The allure of Cable Beach keeps drawing tourists in spite of these risks. While some people are ignorant of the hazards beneath the waves, others think they can outsmart the risks. However, nature is indifferent to your identity. You lose control the moment you step into its area. As our tour through the most hazardous beaches in the world comes to a close, it is evident that risk and beauty frequently coexist. Some locations are dangerous owing to human carelessness, while others are lethal due to the unbridled might of nature. However, one thing is for sure: the only thing separating disaster and survival in the ocean is respect. 19. France's Reunion Island. Off the coast of Madagascar in the Indian Ocean, Reunion Island is renowned for its breathtaking beaches, lush jungles, and volcanic terrain. However, the terrifying truth that this island has one of the worst rates of shark attacks worldwide is hidden beneath the surface of its azure waters. More than 20 shark attacks were reported between 2001 and 2019. More than half of these attacks resulted in death. The authorities banned swimming and surfing in several places as a result of this concerning figure. Nevertheless, some thrill seekers venture into the waters in defiance of the prohibitions, frequently with disastrous results. Two of the most vicious species, bull sharks and tiger sharks, are the primary perpetrators of these assaults. Reunion Island has an exceptionally high death rate in contrast to other shark hotspots where attacks are uncommon and frequently non-fatal. The deep waters near the island, which make it a perfect hunting field, and the sharks' territorial tendencies are said to be the causes of this. Although the risk is still considerable, local authorities have put safety measures in place, such as surveillance programs and shark culling initiatives. Although many find the island's beauty to be alluring, its waters serve as a sobering reminder that the most deadly predators in nature are always around. Although sharks are known to pose a concern, some beaches conceal their dangers in unexpected ways. 20. India's Gurgaon Chowpatty Beach. Though it may not be hazardous due to sharks or rip currents, Gurgaon Chowpatty Beach in Mumbai, India, is threatened by pollution. Swimming on this beach, which is among the most polluted shorelines in the world, is not only dangerous but really harmful to your health. Gurgaon Chowpatty Beach is strewn with trash, industrial waste, and untreated sewage, in contrast to immaculate tropical locations. This area's water is unsuitable for human contact because of its high concentrations of harmful chemicals, microorganisms, and heavy metals. Flooding exacerbates the pollution issue during the monsoon season by forcing additional trash onto the coast. Fecal coliform bacteria, an indicator of human waste pollution, are one of the main causes for concern. Even wading in the water can result in serious infections, skin conditions, and respiratory issues because the levels are frequently far higher than the permissible safety limits. Gurgaon Chowpatty continues to be a well-liked venue for festivals and cultural activities in spite of its environmental problems. However, staying on the beach is the only safe choice for people who respect their health. One thing is evident as we approach the end of our exploration of the most hazardous beaches on Earth. Danger can take many different shapes. The ocean is not a place to be undervalued, whether it is because of the unadulterated force of nature, the existence of lethal species, or the effects of human pollution. The video for today has now come to an end. Make sure to see the other videos on the channel if you've followed us this far.